Happy July all. Thank you for coming back. If you saw my first video and are back for my second video, hey, I made it like a month. I have a little bit of things to show you that I've worked on. I have one fully finished object. We have some more Save the Stitches, and let's jump right into it. So last time I was working on Dirty Annie's Grab Your Balls, it's canning season, and Amanda May, the thrifty goddess that she is, found me a ball jar picture frame stand. So here is the fully finished object. I'm going to insert some video of us. When she found it, it was red. I was like, the red doesn't really match the colors that were here. It's a little too much. And so we spray painted it. She came over, her kids came camping in my living room. We had such a fun time. Had a fire and s'mores and all of those things. And we got a little bit crafty. So we worked on this, and we worked on cutting this out. We worked on getting this onto the backing. The way we finished it is just a magnet and the backing board, and it just goes right. Well, nope, I broke it. It's gonna need hot glued. So anyhow, she had it almost finished. We were almost like to the point of putting it on the board, and I was like, okay, I think I got it from here. Well, I went back to it on a day that I really shouldn't have been working on anything crafty. My head was not in the right place, and I ended up cutting the fabric too close. So I ended up having to make my square a little bit smaller than I wanted, and then wrestling it onto the board was not working well. I was just so mad with the whole thing, because like if I had just picked a different day, slowed my brain down, it would have been so much better. However, I'm letting go of perfectionism, and it is definitely not perfect, and it is definitely not my best work. However, my husband loved it, and he's like, put it in the kitchen, put it above where we keep our ball jars, and that's what I did. So it is finished. Now I need to go re-glue it so it'll go back on. The magnet was too hard that I just pulled it right off. So I will hot glue that back on. But that is our fully finished object, and it is, I thought it turned out really cute. Dirty Annie did such a good job. And I would like to say I would pass the pattern. However, Amanda stole it. She says that she wants to stitch it. And so when I get it back, I will pass the pattern. So let's do the giveaway from last time. Last video, the giveaway is Bless This House, O Lord. We pray, and Loretta Henderson 8979 was the winner of that. You can email me. My email address is below, and I will get your address and send that to you. For the giveaways, what we are doing is leave a comment with an emoji of how stitching makes you feel, and we will put it in a generator, and it will generate. Please don't say giveaway or enter to win or whatever. I don't need trolls in my Flosstube. So this week is actually a needle painting, and it's beautiful. And we have sailboats and a beautiful landscape in a needle painting. This one is sealed, has all of the materials and instructions and pattern inside. So leave your emoji down below, and we will enter you for winning that. Okay, moving on to what I've been working on. I showed this last time, and I'm so excited to say I found the little tag, so I can tell you what the fabric is. So the fabric is Fiber on a Whim Latte. It is Lugana Even Weave, and this pattern is Stitchy Prose, and it is her bell pull that is a birth announcement, and it's so beautiful. And I have reached the top, which I'm so excited about. So I have reached the top. I am working on the trees and filling in the diamonds at the top, and then working my way back down. I'll be putting all of the poem in there, and it's beautiful. It's gonna go in my office. I will be having Amanda help me finish this one because it is to be displayed. She did buy me the wood Bellpool scrolls that go with it, and I'm so excited, but she's gonna have to help me because I'm not the best at this yet. I'm working on it. Forever a work in progress. So the poem will say, beneath the pines where breezes sway, a newborn comes to greet the day. The woodland hums its heart anew, and as love expands to welcome you. And then at the bottom, she has 2025. I added another tree, and true to myself, it is one off. So last video, I said something to the effect of, she tries real hard, but she's one off. Amanda said it made her laugh so hard, and so she stopped the video, she wrote it down. She was like, we're gonna create this into a pattern. So stay tuned for that. However, in the last month, my aunt has started a new cancer treatment, and she is having me put things on eBay for her and get rid of things in her house. She is like the queen of craftiness. It runs in our family. My mother was super crafty. My aunt is super crafty. This printer she gave me is a sublimation printer. And so when she said that she loved it so much, I was like, well, then we have to make it into a mug because my aunt gave me the sublimation printer and all the stuff that goes with it. I have no idea what I'm doing with it. So I went to the University of YouTube, and they taught me a little bit on how to do it. So I made us crafty people a mug. She tries real hard, but she's one off. And so and then it's like a cross-stitched heart. And my son said, well, you should make it a little bigger, and you should do it crooked because you're one off. And so I did. I tried that, and I made one that's a little bit bigger and a little bit crooked. I also made a couple that are straight, and the bigger print, and then the smaller print. I will throw them up in my eBay store. All of the funds for any of the mugs that I sell will go to my aunt's cancer treatment and help her out a little bit. It is just, don't even get me started on life-saving drugs and insurance. And we're going to keep this channel happy, and we're not going to go down that, at least not till we reach birth stuff at the end. So so while I was in my mug making mood, however, mug making mood, I love the way that sounds. When I was in my mug making mood, I also made one for Amanda May. If you've watched her channel at all, she says this almost every time: you matter and your stitching matters. And she's also going to work on making this into a pattern. I've been bugging her for years to do it, but her mug as well will be in the shop, dedicated to her. And then I made one for all of the people who watch this who are birth nerds like me. Birth matters. It just does. Like, I believe it was Penny Sinkin who said, it doesn't matter how the birth goes, the woman will remember how she was treated. And that has been my experience through the years of delivering babies, working as a doula, in the hospital, out of the hospital. What really matters is how that woman was treated during her labor and birth. And so those are our mugs for this week. As I go about saying crazy things, I'm sure others will pop up. If there's anything that you would like to see on a mug, let me know, I'll make it. I also put it on a tumbler. She tries real hard, but she's one off. So that is available in my eBay shop. And yeah, so I've also been working on organizing my threads. I am a bobbinator. I am going through my mother's embroidery floss. She has some vintage DMC. I'll insert the video of Amanda and I talking about that. And a little bit of like grief and what happens when you pass crafting down to your children and the memories that that instills in them, and the antidote to, I feel like, hate and anxiety and the things that are out there in the world is creativity. And that's something that can be passed generation to generation. I do not do the same crafts that my mother did. However, the joy of crafting was definitely handed down. And I do some of them, which brings me to knitting. So I am still working on the sweater. My mom's sister, my aunt, challenged me with this sweater. She said, oh, you're doing your first big sweater, you should try to knit continental. For those who don't know, when you knit, and I know there's a word for it, and I forget what it's called, but when you knit with your right hand and you hold the yarn in your right hand, that's the way I was taught, but there is a way to do it with your left hand, so you're holding your needles and the thread in your left hand, and it tends to go faster for most people. My aunt said that she sat on a train with some lady that was knitting a sweater and they got delayed, and she said, do you mind if I watch you knit continental? I never learned to knit continental. And the woman spoke very little English, but she said yes, and basically through the interaction challenged her to make a sweater in continental, and by the end of it she was able to knit continental and knit faster. So I broke my left arm when I was young. I always said my left hand didn't work right, and it doesn't work the same as my right hand, but it's not that far off. So I am working on knitting it continental. It's a little bit slower than I normally would knit. However, it's getting there. I'm almost to the speed where I am using my right hand. So I'm excited to see how this goes. I know that my gauge is a little bit different, so every few rows I'm going back and using my right hand just to like tighten it back up a little bit. However, I did work on it and I started the second sleeve. So far on my knitting project, I have the base of the sweater, and this is going to be ombre'd in purple all the way up, because that's what the majority of my stash is, and this is meant to be a stash buster. So I have that, and then I have the start of my two sleeves. So I have, and these are going to be ballooned out, so I have the part that is, it looks like a cervix to me. So that's where my brain goes. So the bottom for your wrist is tighter, and then it goes up into the knit and balloons out. So we have two sleeves started, and I am about to evaluate what color I'm going to do next and go from there. I'm very excited for that. It is a decently easy knit so far, and the pattern is parkinknit.com, and this pattern is called, why is my brain is not braining, let me find it. Oh yes, the Roy G. Biv by Park Williams, and it is meant to go through your stash and look like a rainbow. However, mine's gonna be purple because my stash is mostly purple and greens, and so I decided to do mine purple, but then I'm using like a yellow and an orange to break it up through the whole thing. Hopefully I have enough of that. Finding yarn for me that I've already purchased to purchase more is really hard. You also want to try to keep the same dye lot, but I get my yarn from all over. When my aunt lived in Vermont, we used to go up there, and they had a fantastic yarn shop, and I would buy lots of yarn there. And then we have one in town that is decent, and I love the owner, and so I like to go in there and support her. So mine comes from all over. And then we have the Sheep and Wool Festival every year, the Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival, which is fantastic and just amazing for any person who loves wool and wool crafts, fiber arts, if you will. And it's fantastic. It's fantastic. So the only other thing that I'm working on is a new start. And it's July. So what does that mean? Christmas in July. So I wanted to start a Christmas thing. And I really wanted to start Tiny Town. And I may still start Tiny Town. However, I saw somebody on Flosstube say that they wanted to make it like a tiny town, and they were going to do it on like 56 1/1, and I kind of went, ooh, I love that idea. So now I need to get different supplies to be able to do that. And so yeah, so I am working on, if you watched my last video, you know I love to gift crafts. That is, I don't necessarily hold on to my crafts very often. And so I started working on Christmas ornaments for all of my friends and family for Christmas, since it's Christmas in July, and it will take me till Christmas to finish these. So I started teeny tiny, lovely little border. And it was so funny because I shot a picture of the pattern to Amanda and I said, okay, I don't have any white because white is boring, other than Ada, and I don't really want to use Ada. It calls for linen. And she was all like, use green and change the thread colors, genius. And I was like, oh yeah, I have the creative power to do that. So I did. And I may rip out, I haven't decided yet, I may rip out the glitter. The glitter is hard to work with. I understand now why people in the community call it the devil. And I don't love the coverage that I'm getting with it, and I tried to up it and it didn't look right. So I may just rip it out and do a solid gold and then make some like stars or something with the lovely metallic. So the book I am using, I bought a couple of these at Market because I absolutely loved them. JBW Designs Christmas Ornament book, and this is in the 5th book. I am working on this little Christmas tree right here, and it says joy, peace, and love. There are so many beautiful ones in here, and it's so tiny. Like, once again, in my plastic bag with my little gnome, my Christmas gnome, and he is from Flamingo Toes. They were at Market and fantastic, and I just love their designs, and they're super smooth, and the magnets work great. So plastic bag there. Okay, all that is left to talk about today is actually no, I'm wrong. We have 2 things to talk about. Save the Stitches. They went through eBay. We sold one. The July 4th sold. So we still have in our Save the Stitches on eBay. And for those who don't know, Amanda May saves the stitches. When she goes thrifting, if she finds like professionally matted, beautiful cross stitch that she just can't say no to, she brings it home with her, and it is starting to pile up, and she's trying to decide what to do with it. A lot of it she displays throughout her house. However, she's like, I can't keep all of these, and she's realizing she can't keep all of them. So we are wanting to pass them on to people who maybe enjoy cross stitch but can't do it themselves, or collect, or just love changing it up in their house and want to design with it. So we sold the 4th of July one, 4th of July sampler, which went great because it's 4th of July, and it sold for what we put it up for, $5. So I was also asking her, and I was like, what are we doing if we make any money off of this? And she said to put it towards someone's birth. Quite often I get people who cannot afford a home birth, and it's very sad. The state of our country with insurance, and with people with no insurance, state insurance is, we're gonna keep it happy. Let's not talk about insurance. So anyhow, the her wish is to pass on the funds to a client of mine who twice a year I try to take someone pro bono in order to, or at a reduced fee, in order to provide them service, midwifery services at a reduced cost. So she said, put it towards that. So that is what we're going to do. All right. So what we have, these are repeats from last week, but they will be going back up with this when this video goes up. We have a grandma. Well, my light. A grandma is someone special to love. And it's so stinking adorable. If this one doesn't sell, I may buy it myself and give it to my mother-in-law, who's a fantastic grandmother. If there is a ring in the tub, please answer it. This one I absolutely love. Great for a bathroom. This one is an absolute favorite. I know it's big and I know the shipping was a lot on it, but you can always message me and say, hey, take it out of the frame, roll it up, and can you decrease the shipping? Absolutely. So this one is not under glass, so it's a little bit on the dirty side, but it's not so bad that I wouldn't display it. It just needs like lint rolled and spot cleaned and it'll be perfect. So, but it says, if you can start the day without caffeine, if you can resist boring people with your troubles, if you can eat the same food every day and be grateful for it, if you can understand when your loved ones are too busy to give you any time, if you can take criticism and blame without resentment, if you can face the world without lies and deceit, if you can say honestly that deep in your heart you have no prejudice against creed, color, religion, or politics, then my friend, you are almost as good as your dog. And I absolutely love this one. This one is beautifully done with the doggy bones and the doggy bone buttons. They're little buttons. They're so cute. So this one will also be going up. We are going to add one more new one this week, and it is a beautiful home. It's a beautiful house. And it's EBBB is what it says at the very bottom, but it's a beautiful red home. So that one will also be going up. All right. So let's get into our birth story for the day. I am trying to start kind of in the beginning of my career so that I can kind of show you, I don't know how it's changed over the years, but this one still bugs me 16 years later. I titled this Unnecessary Cesarean, and there are very necessary cesareans, and but as a whole in the US, our C-section rate is way too high. Even the World Health Organization has said, I believe it says 15% is where we should be. And in the US, I'm gonna look it up actually, because I wanna be correct. Stay tuned. Okay, so I'm back. The rate right now, according to the March of Dimes, for total cesarean deliveries in the United States, 2013 to 2023 is hovering right around 32%. And your race matters in this as well, which is sad to see. If you are Black, it's closer to 36%. And if you are Asian, it's closer to 33%, I do believe. And for white people, it is 30, and for Native Americans, it is 29. At any rate, it is way higher than where it should be. There's a lot of different reasons for it. We can get into that at a different date and time. What is pertinent to this story is this mom contacted me the week before she was due through a mutual friend. The mutual friend taught breastfeeding classes at the hospital. This woman was being asked to induce before her due date due to gestational diabetes. And gestational diabetes is something that does need to be under the care of a doctor, and if you are on insulin. And she was not on insulin. She was completely diet controlled. Baby was measuring slightly big, but not huge, not horrendous, and not big for her family history. Even though this was her first baby, her family tends to have 8, 9, 10-pound babies. So it very much was, she wanted to deliver naturally. She did not want intervention. She did not want induction. And she pushed back with them. And I believe it was around her due date or maybe a week after that she was being induced, which is huge to even let someone who is gestational diabetic go past their due date. So we started this labor with Pitocin, and this mom was amazing. Like and we may have done Cervidil first. I don't remember completely. This was a long time ago. And labor eventually started rolling, and she was able to get up and like go to the bathroom, come back, and be hooked to the monitors again. Because when you're on Pitocin, it requires you to be hooked to a monitor, because Pitocin can cause contractions that can cause effects to your baby. It can cause uterine rupture. It can cause, I mean, you're interrupting the flow. So it is not always best for babies. So if you are on Pitocin, you are in bed, usually hooked to the machines so that they can monitor baby, and you have an IV. So we were able to work through these contractions, and we had given the staff a very like bullet pointed birth plan but it most importantly said, do not offer me pain relief. I will let you know when I want it and what I want. I know my options. I will let you know. And it basically said, please don't ask me. And her nurse, and like I said before, your nurse can make or break your birth. And her nurse, when I remember this, I remember her as Elle Woods. Like, she just was this sweet, young, blonde, lovely creature who did not listen to the birth plan. And you could tell that she was uncomfortable. You could tell that she was either new or hadn't experienced normal natural birth, because normal natural birth is not quiet. It is not quiet. And so every time she would have a contraction, she would moan through it. She would praise the Lord. She'd put her hands up. She'd, do all of these things that helped her cope through her contractions. So as labor is progressing, we're dilating, we're doing all of the things, and it's over the course of a day. Like, it's not taking a long time for this woman to make progress. But about like 4 or 5 centimeters in, her doctor comes in and says, I really think that we should just go for the C-section. This baby is huge, and you're gestational diabetic. This baby's going to get stuck. You're going to have shoulder dystocia, and I really advise you to have a C-section. And she said, thank you. We're going to keep going. Please let me finish naturally. And it was very frustrating, because it felt like we were being set up from the start, because this provider was unsupportive of her birth. And the baby was projected to be 10 pounds. And a 10-pound baby is significant. It is large. This mother was not a small woman. She's not hugely tall, but like she's bigger boned. She has big hands, big feet, wide hips. Like it would not surprise me that she would have a 10-pound baby. And she progressed through this labor beautifully. While we were hitting active labor and things were getting really tough, her nurse had already asked her, are you sure you don't want an epidural? And we said, no, please don't ask again. Reminded her that we don't want asked. And she just kept coming back. Every time she came back in to do vitals or do something, she's like, sweetie, I really don't know if you can make it through this. You are really struggling, and I would really love if you got an epidural. And about the 4th time that this nurse came in and asked this, my client looks at me and she goes, do you want an epidural? Because she is hell-bent on giving somebody an epidural. And I was like, no, I'm good. Thanks. Please don't ask again. Like, how many times do we have to say, please don't ask us? Like, we are doing fine. So she was told that she was 10 centimeters and to start pushing. And we pushed and we pushed and we pushed and we pushed standing and we pushed sitting and we pushed in all the different positions. But she kept saying, I don't feel like I need to push yet. I don't feel like I need to push yet. And she's like, I don't feel like I'm getting anywhere. So another nurse heard the commotion coming from our room, and she came in and she was pro-natural, pro-birth, and it kind of changed the feeling in the room of, she was like, yeah, let's do this. And she, supported her, helped her. And at this point, this is like I think it was my third birth in. I'm still very new to getting like how to do this, how to navigate, how to advocate for my client. And she, this nurse like changed the whole attitude of the room, and it was beautiful, and it was like so encouraging. And so like, yeah, let's do this. Doctor came back in, checked her again, and said, no, you didn't make any progress. We need to go do a C-section. Baby was fine. Baby showed no signs of distress, and wasn't showing signs of head compression either, which this is retrospective. At the time, I hadn't learned like what to be looking for in a heart rate of compression. And it was very, very frustrating. And we all felt defeated. So they started saying, okay, we're going to prep you for a C-section, and, time's up, we need to go. And this had all taken place in the course of a day. It was still daylight out, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it was still daylight out. So like this, we maybe started at like maybe 5, 6 a.m. and it's still daylight out, and it was October. So it was, yeah, still daylight out. They start talking C-section, and I was naive enough and knew enough that I was like, any chance I can go as the doula in the room. I understand that dad will be next to her head, but if the baby has to be taken out of the room, can I take dad's spot? And they said no, absolutely not. Against our policies, not going to happen. And it's one of those things that absolutely annoys me with C-sections. And it's getting better. Over the years, I have seen it get better, where dad doesn't have to leave the room if baby is fine. Dad gets to hold baby next to mom's head and they go as a group to PACU. So they absolutely said no. Well, we turn around and dad's gone. Didn't say anything to any of us in the room. He just disappeared. And I'm like, well, dad's not here. And they're starting to rush to get her ready for this C-section. I'm like, why are we rushing this? Like, she's still contracting. She doesn't have an epidural. Like, they're like, well, we're going to go ahead and shave her, and we're going to go ahead. And she's still contracting through all of this. I'm like, well, I'm going to go find dad. I ran out to the waiting room where his parents and her parents were, her mom was back in the room. But anyhow, and I said, where did he go? And they're like, oh, he went out for a smoke. And I'm like, they're getting ready to take her back for a C-section. You need to go find him now. And they went to go find him. I went back in the room and I'm like, can I please suit up just in case he's not back in time? And they said no. And I am so frustrated at this point. And then I hear her say, I feel it. I feel like I need to push. And they were like, don't push. And I was all like, why can't she push? And they were like, we're doing the C-section. She's already ordered it. She's already scrubbed in. She's not going to come in here and deliver this baby. They wheeled her back to the OR, and they gave her a spinal and gave her a C-section. The baby was fine. He was absolutely beautiful. He was 9 pounds, and he was starting to mold, and his little ears were folded down, and he was down far in there. by the time they'd done the C-section. And it was so frustrating because I knew had it been a different setup, a different provider, a different hospital even, but that hospital at the time was actually one of the best for natural labors. And so in our area. And so it was very frustrating to just stand by and watch this happen because the OB said so. And don't get me wrong, I need OBs. As a midwife, I need those OBs to be there. And our current climate where we live, the OBs are overworked. We don't have enough of them. And it's causing dangerous situations for people. I need these OBs. I need them to be and do what they do, their specialty, they're surgeons. I cannot stress enough to find a provider that supports and will let you try and feel validated in your wants and needs. It's really hard though, because the way our system is set up, you see a different provider every time you're in because they want you to meet everyone, which is great because you should know who's going to be at your cervix when you are delivering your baby. However, it does not allow for continuity of care, and it is very frustrating. So all of that to say, the story didn't have the best happy ending. He's here, he's beautiful, she is safe. She nursed him. It took us a little while to get him to latch, and ultimately with the shape of her breast and with like my newness to troubleshooting breastfeeding issues and things, she ended up pumping and feeding him for 10 months. And I remember her texting me at that 10-month mark and saying, I can't do this anymore and I feel horrible, and this is, you know, I want to give him the best. I was shooting to make it a whole year. And I simply said, you did 10 months. That is amazing. Like, it is more than anyone could have asked you to do. And she was working full time. And it was amazing that she pumped for that baby for 10 months. It just is for me, I always wanted her to have another baby. And I always wanted to, you know, she got healthier after that pregnancy. I knew that she could get through a pregnancy really well. And I wanted her to have another baby, and she never did. And it makes me really sad that she never did, because for my closure, I know a baby could have come out of her. And I never got to see it, and it's just one of those things that I have to let go. But that baby is now 16, and they are not having more children. That they are no longer together. That mother and father are no longer together. And I believe that she married someone who had other kids, so like she got to raise other kids, but it feels like no closure for me on that one. But it lit a fire for me of being a better advocate, and being a better advocate sooner. The part of the issue with this was that I met her the week before she was due. We had no time to plan. We had no time to find another provider. We had no time to, so we did the best in the situation that we were given. And you don't know, in labor, you don't know. You were always handed a different deck with every birth. And it just was, it was hard, but it did light the advocacy and looking at the statistics, looking at where we should be. We should be under 20%. And that is their goal by, I think it's 2030, is to have the US rate of C-section under 20%. But it's going to take some work. And in our current climate of the way that it is run, I don't see it happening. But it's also my little worldview in this, you know, the East Coast worldview. And there's so much that I could go down the rabbit hole of advocacy and advocating for yourself in birth and educating and all of that. And I don't have all the answers, and everything changes, and our statistics are 10 years behind. Our studies are 10 years behind always in medicine. And so it is very hard to keep up with. But when we look at long-term studies, and we look at things like, I'm trying to remember where it was. It was out west. It was an Indian reservation where they stopped paying their OBs by how the birth ended. Cesareans typically get paid out more than vaginal births. And so they started paying their OBs a salary that was not based on how many C-sections, how many vaginal births. It was just a lump sum, and their C-section rate decreased greatly. I need to find that study. It was a while ago it was when I was still in school, so it had to have been over 10 years ago. And it was something that just like blew my mind. So there are ways to do it. There are ways that we can do it. But there's got to be a lot more education. And the setup needs to change. If I'm being completely, this is my, if I ran the world, everyone would see a midwife first until they were deemed high risk, and then they would see an OB. Where we live, that's not the way that is done. You have the choice to see an OB off the bat. People are being told they're high risk when they're not high risk. It's very money driven, and it's hard. It's hard. So I'm going to leave it there. Not a super happy one. I will try to do a super happy one for next month. My goal is to do this monthly. I'm hoping to have my bell pull done the next time I see you, and we will see. We are in the thick of summer camps and heading every which direction, and then it's going to be school. Like, I am so sad. When I was a kid, we had till the end of August, and now it's mid-August that our kids go back, and it is very sad for me. So, and it is also I'm not homeschooling this year, and that's different, and it's going to be, everyone's in high school, and except for one, and he's going to go to a micro school, and I'm super excited. So hopefully we'll have more stitching time. Probably not. But super excited for the rest of the summer, and I hope your rest of your summer is amazing. And we will see you next month.